Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for this Talkback Thursday conversation. My name is Andrea Jarman, and I am the Education Coordinator here at the Gogue Performing Arts Center. I am excited to introduce today's special guest, a poet, educator, producer, and New York Times bestselling author, as well as the recipient of numerous awards, including the Lee Bennett Hopkins Poetry Award, the Coretta Scott King Author Honor, 3 NAACP Image Award nominations, and the 2017 inaugural Pat Conroy Legacy Award. Additionally, he co-founded an international literacy program called Leap for Ghana. He is the writer and executive producer of the crossover TV series based on his Newbery Medal-winning novel of the same name, which premieres on the Disney Channel and Disney Plus in April. And finally, the author and creator of the musical Acoustic Rooster's Barnyard Boogie starring Indigo Blume, which is based on 2 of his beloved children books, Acoustic Rooster and Indigo Blume, and will be playing at the Gogue Center on March 16th. Please welcome Kwame Alexander. Welcome, Kwame, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Andrea, for that wonderful introduction.
You are welcome. So I think we can jump right into some questions.
Okay.
You have had such an impressive career. How did you first become interested in writing?
Well, my parents are both writers. You know, they were teachers. My dad wrote 16 books. My mother taught writing. My dad used to make me read the dictionary and the encyclopedia. I mean, words were a big part of our, childhood in our family. And so I tell people all the time that I didn't really decide to be a writer. Like, I think writing was just in my blood. It was just something I feel like my parents created. They nurtured a writer, like I'm Frankenstein. If Frankenstein, I'm the writing monster. And so, from a very early age, I just fell in love with words, from Dr. Seuss and Nikki Giovanni and Langston Hughes as a child. And then, on up to college, where I began to write love poems, for girls I was interested in meeting. And then, after college, I remember meeting this woman, and I wrote her a love poem every day for 1 year, and she married me. And I was like, wow, this poetry thing kind of works. This is a children's performance. I'm talking about love and marriage. My bad, parents. But no, that's where it started. It started like that. And, and I've written 38 books, and I love it. I feel like my mission is to change the world one word at a time. Writing is my calling. It's my purpose.
That's wonderful. That sort of, I guess, segues really well into the next question. Was there a defining moment or experience that led you to pursue a career in writing? Was it just the culmination of everything?
It was a culmination of everything, Andrea. I mean, I remember in college, I was studying theater. Like, I really wanted to be an actor. How apropos is that in this conversation?
Very apropos.
and so I auditioned for a lot of plays, and I wasn't getting casted. And I was trying to understand why I wasn't getting casted. And was it because I was Black, and most of the actors at Virginia Tech that were being casted were white? Was it because I wasn't a good actor? Like, I just didn't know, but I was frustrated. And like my sophomore year, I was like, well, this can't work. I'm not going to be able to be an actor if I can't be in plays. And so I said, well, let me write a play, and then I can act in it. And so I wrote a play sophomore year and ended up directing it and starring in it. And so it was out of this necessity. I said, okay, I can do this, and I'm going to need to do this, because there's no way I'm going to go through life not allowing, my story to be told, or the stories that I care about to be told and shared and performed. So I think that was a defining moment. Actually, I've never thought about that, but I think that was the moment where I said, writing is something I've got to do.
And we're glad you did. Who or what has inspired or influenced your career? I know, obviously, your parents, because you
Right.
mentioned that, but have there been any other inspirations or influences?
Sure. My professor in college for 3 years, Nikki Giovanni, and I took a lot of her courses. I took poetry courses, children's literature courses from her. So she was a huge, and still to this day remains a significant inspiration for me in my writing career. Um, all the young people, the students I meet, like today earlier, I was talking to some children in Athens, Georgia.
Oh,
Now I live in Virginia. I'm home in Virginia right now.
okay.
But this morning I was in Athens, Georgia, because of the beauty of Zoom, of course. And so I was talking to like a bunch of kindergartners and third graders, and they were so excited to hear, from the author of one of the books that they love. And I think that's always a big inspiration when kids get it, when they're moved by something I write, when they're excited, when you see the light bulb go off in their eye. Oh wow, this poetry thing is pretty cool, So it's definitely the children who read my books that I find that to be very, motivational and inspirational.
That's exciting. We aren't too far from Athens here in Auburn.
Oh, right.
Big
Right.
rivals though with football. So
There you go.
yes.
I'm sorry to bring up that touchy subject. My apologies.
You
My
can make it
apologies.
all better by just giving us a war eagle.
Go Auburn.
You've done lots of work for literacy education, speaking of talking to students and the art of writing. Why do you think writing is so important for students?
Well, it allows us as human beings to be able to share the things that we may not be able to say, to talk about things that are important to us, that matter to us, and to share those words with the world, to express the things that we may not understand, to raise our voices, to lift our voices for the things that we care about. I think writing is a way of having a conversation with ourselves and the world that ultimately allows us to be more connected to ourselves and to the world. And when we read your writing, as readers, we become more connected and we're able to understand better our place in the world. I think writing is a way to help us all, words are a way to help us all become more human. And I feel like that's that's probably the thing that all of my books, all of my plays, all of my TV shows, come down to. I'm writing to help us all become better human beings. And in order to become a better human being, you gotta know yourself. And you gotta have a relationship with yourself and understand yourself. And so, that's why I write books.
That's just beautiful.
Oh,
I love that
thank you.
thought. For all of you just joining in, I am live with writer, educator, and producer Kwame Alexander, whose musical Acoustic Rooster's Barnyard Boogie, starring Indigo Blume, will be presented at the Goose Performing Arts Center on Thursday, March 16th at 7 p.m. Kwame, we have a little bit of time left, and I have a few more questions.
Okay.
You have written poetry, novels, children's literature, as well as for the stage and now television. Do you have a favorite genre? And does your process differ depending on the medium or genre?
Process completely differs. Absolutely. My favorite is going to be this book.
Okay.
And I'm a little biased because it's my first children's book.
Okay.
So to be able to see this book on stage right now is so special. I wrote it back in 2011. Many of you kids were not even born then. That was 12 years ago. Wow. And so, yeah, I got so caught up in the memory of that book in that time that I completely forgot your question.
No, I asked, said you had written poetry, novels, children's literature for the stage and now for television. And do you have a favorite genre? And then about your process? Is it different depending on the genre?
Yeah, I don't really have a favorite. That's one of my favorite books, Acoustic Rooster, but I love being able to have some variety, to write a children's picture book, go write a TV show, to write a novel, to write a play. Like I love the variety. It's different ways of telling similar stories and for different audiences.
Mhm.
So I find that to be pretty exciting. And the process is very different for each one in terms of what you're writing and the format of it. But the actual writing process, I write every day at the same time, 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. every day. I go for a walk every day and I think about my characters and my stories. So I do that every day. I always rewrite and edit. I do that all the time. So all the process is different in terms of format and what I'm writing, but the same in terms of how I do it. Right?
Yeah, that makes good sense.
See, I bounced back. I bounced back to the answer. I figured it out.
I think it's an interesting point that you have such a regimented schedule for your process, no matter what.
Yeah, because I wouldn't be able to get it done. I like to procrastinate. I love to go. I love to cook. I love to eat. I love to watch Disney Plus. I love to laugh. I love to hang out with my friends. So if I don't have that time where I can just focus on the writing, it won't get done.
That's good. Speaking of children's books, we are looking forward to hosting Acoustic Roosters. Let me say that again. Speaking of children's books, we are looking forward.
Hey, Andrea, kids love to see us make mistakes because the cool thing is they make mistakes and it's okay. Here's one of my favorite quotes ever, okay? Dribble, fake, shoot, miss. Dribble, fake, shoot, miss. Dribble, fake, shoot, miss. Dribble, fake, shoot, swish.
Oh, okay.
You're not going to necessarily get it right the first time, but if you keep shooting, you're going to make it. So let's rewind. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go.
Speaking of children's books, we are looking forward to hosting Acoustic Roosters Barnyard Boogie starring Indigo Blume later this month. How did this project come about and how did the Kennedy Center become involved?
Great question. So when my daughter was 2 years old, she's now 14 and she's 6 feet tall, everybody. She's tall. Maybe she'll come to Auburn and play basketball or volleyball.
Okay.
When she was 2, she used to cry a lot, and I would play jazz music, and she would stop crying. And I was like, "Oh, this is pretty interesting. Maybe I should write a book about jazz music for her to explain to her this music she's listening to." And so I wrote Acoustic Rooster, which is about a jazz band, and the book was published in 2011. And again, it's my first children's book and I love it so much. And I began traveling around the country, reading from it, traveling around the world, reading from it, and kids loved it. And then I think maybe 4 years ago, before the pandemic, the Kennedy Center contacted me and said, "We want to work with you. Is there a project you think you might be interested in?" And I was like, "I'd love to do Acoustic Rooster as a musical because it's such a musically fun, book." And they were all in and they were excited. And 2 years ago, we debuted the musical at the Kennedy Center. And they said, if it goes well, we'll take it on tour. And it went well. And now we're on tour, like 25 cities or so around the country. And on March the 16th at 7 o'clock, it'll be right there with you all.
That's
now,
right.
The sad thing is I was planning to be there. I was going to be there with you all. But I have an event to do at 1 o'clock on the 16th in New York City. And so I was like, how do I get from New York City to Auburn by 7 o'clock? And now if the Googe Center sent a private jet, I could make it, but I couldn't make it.
I don't know if we have that kind of pull. You do gain an hour because we are in Central Time.
Yeah, so there is that. It didn't work out. Hey, but you all don't have an airport.
We do, but it's a
you
private
do.
airport. Mm-hmm.
Well, see, that's why I said I need a private jet.
Yes. Don't we all?
Exactly.
Would you share a little bit about what our audience might expect to see in the performance?
Acoustic Rooster sat outside strumming his bass guitar. He practiced jazz all summer long so he could be a...
Start.
Now, every year about this time, Farmer announced his plan to hold a Barnyard talent show and find the farm's best
Band.
Acoustic Rooster asked to join Thelonious Monkey's crew, but Farmer's rules prevented that because they lived at the...
Zoo.
What? How do you know this? Did you write this book?
I've read the book.
You're amazing. Everybody give a round of applause for Andrea Jarman.
Speaking of Thelonious and all of your fun characters, how did you come up with these names?
No idea. I was in a place called Tuscany on a writer's fellowship. You ever been there?
To Tuscany, Italy? Yes, I have.
Incredible, isn't it?
It's incredible.
The pasta. Andrea, the grape juice.
Yes, it is delicious grape juice.
Oh my goodness. I was there on a writer's retreat and see, you got me thinking about Tuscany.
Characters' names.
And so I was just brainstorming and sort of, trying to figure out what would be cool characters for the book, for the story. And I saw these roosters and I was like, oh, yeah. What rhymes with rooster? And I couldn't really figure out a musical term. And then it hit me. Acoustic has an internal rhyme. Internal rhyme, kids, it's not a rhyme at the end of the word, like cat, bat. It's a rhyme in the middle of the word. So rooster, ooh. Acoustic, ooh. And so I was like, okay, I'll do the internal rhyme. And so that was my first character. And then I started thinking, well, what other characters would be on a farm? Well, there'd be a pig. There'd be a horse. Oh, another word for a horse, like a mule is in the horse family. Mule. Mules. Miles Davis. Mules Davis. And then I just started doing that, like that whole process until I had a formula for how to come up with these words, these names that were animal names based on real human beings. Duke Ellington, Duck Ellington, Ella Fitzgerald, Ella Finchgerald. So it was a lot of fun.
It sounds like fun. And we actually have a video that we can share with a little clip from Acoustic Rooster. So let's do that right now.
Sweet.
We got a barnyard, we got some singing, we got a guitar and a horn, one piano and one keyboard. We got all we need to take it home. We're singing the Barnyard Boogie.
Barnyard Boogie.
Oh, the Barnyard Boogie. We got some jazz and some hip hop. We got some go-go and some beep-beep-bop. We can play whatever you choose.
That was exciting. I hope that got everyone excited for the show. I believe that is all the time we have for today.
Oh, I can't wait for you all to see the musical. I hope you really enjoy it. And remember to be a star in your mind, day and night. Let it shine. I'm Kwame Alexander. This has been great, Andrea. You're amazing.
Oh, it's been so nice talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us and for being so generous with your time. And everyone remember, you can see Kwame's Acoustic Rooster's Barnyard Boogie starring Indigo Blume at the Gouge Performing Arts Center on Thursday, March 16th at 7 p.m. This performance is part of our family series and tickets are only $10. For ticket information, please call the box office at 334-877-8497. I would like to thank the City of Auburn for sponsoring our family series and our season sponsors, Walt and Ginger Waltos. Thank you again for joining us today and have a wonderful afternoon.